For this panel. Good morning, everyone. Excited for session number 2 on day number 2 and welcome in our speakers. So we will go ahead and start with some introductions and Jen, how about you? How about you go first?
All right. I'm Jen Dewalt, co-founder and CTO of Zoob.io. We are a SaaS company making agile project management for software development teams. And our primary customer is open source enterprise, but we also run the gamut from startup, SMB, all the way up through enterprise.
All right. And how about you, John?
Thanks, Manny. My name is John Yuksel, CEO and co-founder at Beltways. We're making high-speed moving walkways. Started as an attorney in California and did cross-border with China for a while. Did soft nation infrastructure in Southeast Asia, and then greenfield manufacturing before founding this in Silicon Valley with my brother to bring our father's 40-year-old dream to life. We are finally out of an arduous path, venture-backed. We have a facility, and now we're building our first commercial system for our partner airport for 2024, and can't be more excited to be on this journey right now.
Awesome. Congrats. Alan?
How you doing? My name is Alan Boseman, principal and founder of the Sherman Boseman Legal Group. Spent the first 9 years of my career in the big firm world. In the last 6 years, practicing with my partner, Bradley Sherman, where we run a firm focused on commercial transactions, commercial litigation, labor and employment, and entertainment as our core. In addition to that, I own a promotions company called Telefriend Promotions, where we focus on creating and running really cool events to really bring the city together in a harmonious way and to kind of break down borders. Some of the things if you're from here, you may know me from is Gumbo Dance Party, which is used to be a monthly, but now we kind of do it whenever we feel like it. And most recently, Connect at the Museum of Contemporary Art, where I sit on the board. Shout out to Manny. He was on the host committee of our first Connect back in November, which is a resounding success. In addition to that, I serve as a consultant for several companies in kind of a relationship capacity where I just kind of help usher them through the city and build relationships so that they can help their businesses grow.
Awesome. And last but not least, how about you, Chase?
Hi, I'm Chase Crawford, the only speaker that didn't put their last name on their card. I work in the very informal world of stand-up comedy. I have the opportunity to work with some of the funniest unknown people in the world, and some of the funniest known people in the world, as Manny was alluding to. Got to work with Mark Normand and Wayne Brady, and in the past 2 or 3 years have produced 70 independent comedy specials that we release strategically across our YouTube and Tubi and SiriusXM. We fund it, produce it, and then partner with the comics as far as ownership goes. Truly an independent studio, but took things the social route. And as Manny was saying, a lot of cool Ohio ties in comedy, just with Dave Chappelle and Matt Rife. And traveling the country, those names are mentioned a lot. And yeah, I mean, as far as, social level and stuff like that, we just surpassed 200,000 social followers. And the New York Times named one of our specials the best YouTube special of the year last week. And then I think we had an album named Best Comedy Album. So we're like really trying to break talented people into their audience without them having to foot the bill for that, which is usually the thing that they're waiting on HBO or Netflix or someone to do. And I came from the film world before that, so produced about 20 independent films. The pandemic happened. It became pretty expensive to make an independent film, and we decided to pivot our spend to stand up. So
I love it. I love it. So, all of you are doing just incredible things. And I think sometimes when we look at sales, it's just such a simple word. But I look at everything that you're doing, really, really problem solving, right? So I guess just, a question for all of you. How do you go about demystifying the word sales in your practice, and really focus on problem solving and collaboration? And I think all of you are in such unique industries. So Jen, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so we're in a very strange industry since we sell to developers. So those are our first champions. Devs like don't have the same sales process that a lot of other SaaS companies go through. For when we started out, it was like, okay, like do advertising, do, like Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. Do your cold emails. None of that works for us personally. And that was like a really big realization for us as we went through that process. And so what I like to think about it as like, you need to find your customer where they're at. And that was like a huge realization for us of like, our customers aren't in the traditional sales pipeline. And that's true for every company, every customer. Like your customers are where they are and you need to find where they are. So that was like a huge realization for us in our early days of like the normal sales process doesn't exactly work like the traditional like playbook. And I think that scales across different companies as well. Like you need to find who your customers are, how do you reach them, how do you find them in a way that works for them. And it's not always just like cold calls and cold emails or putting ads up and spending a lot of money in ways that maybe aren't traditional, as lots of people would like to say. I don't know, maybe that answers the question.
Yeah, no, and I guess, and to you, John, you're working on a family business, so I guess, where's the consensus of this idea, and then just how are you, really going through the challenges of growing and solving this issue?
Yeah, so I studied marketing in undergrad, traditional marketing. I wish they were a little bit more with the times, I would say. Traditional marketing, marketing in general has changed a lot. And similar to what Jen said, our industry is a little bit different. We're marketing towards airport executives. So it's not a traditional way to do it. I would say we've spoken to many airport executives, and the game plan is that we need a showcase that our product does what it says it will do. And that's what we're doing right now, is validating the product so that they can see it, on the ground operating. And that's why it was so important that we partnered with CVG Airport initially to be able to showcase this technology. What we've learned is that in our industry, there's a lot of fast followers, but no one that's wanting to take that first step, and finding a partner that was willing to do that was critical. For us, I think also industry trade shows are going to be really key to be able to meet a lot of them and build those relationships. It's a lot of relationship building in our industry.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Alan? I think you do a lot, I think sometimes we always many people don't do anything without money at first, right? So I guess when with all the various events and engagements that you do, how are you able to galvanize people together when money is not at the root of everything?
Yeah. Well, the way I view and to kind of pair that with your first question, like demystifying the word sales. For me, that's a word really is relationships in my business. Everything that I do is relationship driven, whether it's my law practice, my consulting business, or my it's all about relationships and trust. And what I've learned over the years is that people, they work with people they like. They work with people they identify with. They work with people they share the same values. And so the key to what I do is just cultivate long-lasting relationships that are built on trust, but are also built on my abilities to deliver what I say I can do. Me and my partner always talk about, you see some law firms, you see big advertisements along the highway. I'm sure some famous faces you'll see driving down 71 or 77, or you'll see commercials in between the Cavs game. My partner and I decided very early on that that's not the way we wanted to run our business. We wanted to work with people we wanted to work with, and we wanted to be more of a word of mouth, relationship driven business. And for us, that's worked. We've never put a single ad out. We do have an Instagram page, but we barely use it. But what has worked for us is just building these bridges with folks where they feel comfortable in the foundation and the sturdiness of that bridge. They'll drive across it and continue to do business with us over and over again. And that runs through every business I do. And to answer your second question about, how do you do it from a kind of bootstrap marketing? Again, relationships are free. Going out and having coffee, advertising and marketing yourself in a certain way on my personal social media page. I mean, I think it's interesting, Manny, that the first thing you mentioned about me was I'm dead. You didn't lead with he's a lawyer and he owns a business. He does this. You mentioned that I was dead. And that's because if you follow me on Instagram, I really show you the totality of me as a person. As a father of two sons who play soccer and a daughter who does ballet, as a husband of 16 years, but also as a businessman and a guy who has friends and likes to have fun. And that approach has worked for me because people seem to like what they see and want to do business with me based on those types of relationships.
No, I love that. And it's a perfect pivot to Chase as well, who's also a family man. And
Yes, sir.
and Chase, I think it's interesting. I went to Cincinnati and toured your office, which is the coolest office in Ohio. I don't really think it's close. It's, but maybe you could just tell a little bit about the various pieces of maybe putting a production together and then making that live, and then also just also too is just as far as sacrifice, because I think that's one thing as a founder. People see the finished product, but they don't see the just countless hours, that you put into it. So yeah, maybe if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch there. The founder hours, right, are something that you can never add up in the true calendar perspective. Started this in the basement of my in-laws' house after so I had my first kid at 18, got married, had two more kids, and living a stable life now, but it wasn't that 8 years ago. And that's where I started this, and I found friends and built those relationships, as Alan was saying. Those are free, and the people who believe in your dreams, they'll be there for you, and they'll I don't want to say sacrifice. You shouldn't ask something that you wouldn't do back for them. But asking for a day of help is something that they want to hear from you when you're building something that's big. So I did that. I made my first movie at 19 for $30,000. It was, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but it's an hour and a half long. It's a full thing that I was able to market myself as a producer and as a production company. And I ended up getting the opportunity to produce a $300,000 film the following year because I had that resume. So after that, it was just about delivery and making sure that I was holding up to my word and living up to my promises. Where we started to become self-funded of like the business of entertainment, how you release things, make money, pay the investors back. And over the course of 20 films, you have wins and losses. So you're able to really have those true learning lessons that allow you to make the pivots necessary to build a business, right? That when we pivoted to stand up, it was scary at first, but once you start to build, now our following recognizes us because of that. So the selling to comics isn't necessarily that hard, right? That's what I'm doing, is selling the relationship with us is better than a relationship with this company or this company or that company. And here's why. It's because I'm an artist. I make this stuff myself. I'm funding it from a thing that has historically worked for me. So I know how to make money from art. And you get to own in it with, like, you own in your success. You keep your jokes. There's no weird Comedy Central IP thing attached. It's like a true artist helping artist thing. And through that, I mean, like, I'll admit the first 40 were very hard for us to land, because you're pitching a new idea to a new group of people who are generally, unfamiliar. They don't let outsiders in. And again, it's just executing, and to the point where now a lot of our comedians are referrals, or people who are submitting through their manager, who we also produced something else. So it's like they're trying to find that mutual or warm connection to
Yeah.
us,
And
because
Chase,
they.
I want
Sorry.
you two to talk about your office, because I was blown away, but maybe just talk about all that's going on in there, and really how collaborative, and, like, I mean, I know in many cases you're not even charging rent to many people. So maybe if you could just tell people a little bit about that, because I think that's, I think just being able to network and with people and learn from people in a close environment really helps. So tell people a little bit
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as putting the space together, and what the collaborative efforts that Manny is talking about, we have a 12,000 square foot warehouse here in Cincinnati, where essentially it's the best of the best freelancers in all of their field. So web developers and animation teams, they all land here, and we'll bring them in for bigger client projects, and they can build their hours, they can say no. It's a very communal feeling around our office, because you don't have to come in at a certain time. There's no, I don't want to say there's no totem pole, like it's just the prisoners run the jail, but it's kind of like we all keep each other accountable for the level of work that we're creating here, right? Like, uh, I mean, I hold myself to a very high standard every day, and I hope the others around us kind of grab the same bar, right? It's not like people aren't throwing parties here. I know Manny's been here, so I'm trying to like cool down how cool the space is. But we have a stage and recording studios and like a skate park, and it's huge and fun. And we have rooftop access. And Manny, I didn't show you, we do have a bar with 2 kegs that we just got attached on the second floor, with like some horseshoe and some what is it, casino games, some like pool tables. It's like stuck in the 80s, but in a good way.
Well, and man, if I can jump on that, I think from a marketing standpoint, if you're going to have a physical brick and mortar location, it's critical that that space reflect your personality, who you are, what you're about. Because for me, the thing that I think has driven success more than anything that I could point to would be authenticity. And when people can evaluate who you are, whether it be through your social media or through other places, but also through your office space. I remember when we first moved to our first office, we just moved to a new office. That's why you see all the artwork on the floor, because it's going to go up on the wall and we got to get some more stuff going on. But we just moved into a new office space November 1st. We were in the warehouse district, and now we're up here. But when we first set up our office, I remember my business partner, he's about 14 years older than me. I saw how he was setting up his office, and I was going to go right back to the old, like my law degree and my bar admissions and all those things. And I looked at his, and he started, putting like his rock albums that he liked, and he started really showing his personality. And I said to myself, well, hold on. I've arrived at this point where I own my own firm, so I can do what I want. And so why am I feeling the need to still impress people with a degree? And so we then reorganized. I completely reorganized and revamped and just started creating an office space that, you know, I collect sneakers. So you see sneaker books and off-white books and, you know, little teddy bears or whatever it is that, you know, client stuff. And so I think that's, Chase, I think that's super dope that you guys have a space like that that really reflects your personality and what you offer. And I think that, again, those are the type of relationship building environments where you're not even trying to, but you end up building a sustaining relationship that can lead to client development or some other opportunity. And I always tell people, come to my space and just come hang out. I have a bar set up, I have a couch set up. Let's just come and talk and get to know each other. And what I find is that tends to bring real sustaining relationships that turn to some awesome opportunities.
Yeah, I would like to speak a little bit about authenticity because it's something I've been thinking about, especially in the context, like bringing it back to like sales, which was the first question, is that having authenticity with your customers is like really important. Obviously, from a corporate, like building your team is really important. We all know that, but authenticity with your customers is super important as well. Again, going back to like finding where they are is like a thing that a lot of young entrepreneurs don't embrace fully. Like they think they have to like have this like, you know, whatever vision of what like Silicon Valley looks like or something. But the reality is that the authenticity of yourself, of what you're doing, what your company is doing, what you are about is really important to bring to the forefront of whatever you're doing. Whether it's your office space, which I love your artwork, by the way. But like that's something that like people try to, like a lot of young entrepreneurs or young business owners try to fake. And it's really important to like embrace your authenticity. Like that's your like that is you. That is your like your goal. That is like that's how you're going to sell. That's how you're going to like make your business successful, is like being yourself.
I just wanted to hop on that and say that is, again, if your business isn't a living, breathing reflection of you, someone's gonna sniff it out as soon as they meet you in person. If you're chanting on the internet, I love art, I support artists, I do this, that, and the other, and you go to a comedy club and you're standing off in a corner, not talking to anyone or trying to engage, they're going to immediately sniff that out of like, oh, who is this guy and what is he doing here? Because something's red flagging in my system where I don't want to be around him. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the first big thing that I think that I did to start really walking in my truth when I was working at started my career at Honolulu and then went to Littler Mendelsohn. And I remember being there and, you know, our office manager said, hey, you do know that technically lawyers, they can wear jeans any day of the week. And I was like, what? Really? And so I started just being more comfortable even in how I dressed. And so my reputation now in the city is I'm not the lawyer you're going to come to my office and I'm going to be sitting here in a suit, shirt, and tie. You're going to come to my office, I might have a hoodie on, I might have a hat on, I might have sneakers on. But again, I'm being authentic to myself. And what that's done is people, especially post-COVID, people like being in that comfortable environment around a lawyer who is capable and can, tussle with the big boys, but at the same time, we can go out and go watch a basketball game right after. I don't have to go change my clothes, and people like that. They feel that they know me more as a person, just even how I dress to work every day. And so again, the way we market and sell ourselves comes in so many different forms, and even down to the way we dress. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, he's known for wearing hoodies everywhere, and that becomes his brand and part of his identity. And that's something that works for him, and this is something that's worked for me.
Yeah, definitely. Like owning your own brand. That's like a really good point. Because like when I was in San Francisco early days, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to like wear a jacket and like be this like little mold, and like that's not authentic, and it doesn't come off authentic. That's not the person that I am, you know, like that's not my style. And yeah, people will sniff it out and just go like, you're weird, you're not, you know, you're not your authentic self. And then so being, you know, building your own personal brand, which should be authentic, is a really good way to build your business of like who you are, what are you about, and I think that's really important, and that a lot of younger people maybe feel intimidated by, like you said, like the suit and tie, like feels like the right thing because that's what like the world tells you you're supposed to be, but that's not necessarily the right thing for how you're working.
Yes, yes. Well, I love this. I feel like we were